this early. Back last minute.
I'd like to call the Tuesday, August 27th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Will do. Alderman Redpath.
Here.
Alderman Gregory.
Here.
Alderwoman Turner.
Here.
Alderman Fulgenzi.
Here.
Alderman Proctor.
Here.
Alderwoman DeCenso.
Present.
Alderman McMenamin. Alderwoman Connolly.
Present.
Alderman Donlin.
Here.
Alderman Hanauer.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, a quorum is present.
Alderman McMenamin called me and informed me he was not going to be here tonight, so I will accept a motion for the approval of the August 13th, 2019
So moved.
committee.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it. We don't have a treasurer, we're not doing a treasurer's report? Okay. There's no OBM contract report. Are there any presentations?
No, sir.
Okay. Next, we have ordinances tabled to remaining committee. Mr. Clerk, could you please read those ordinances?
2017-103, 2018-110, 2019-008, 2019-232, 2019-276.
Is there anyone that would like to remove any of these ordinances from the committee consideration? Here now. Well, now, we'll move to ordinances for committee consideration. Mr. Clerk, please read the ordinances.
CWLP 2019-381, an ordinance approving two separate proposals totaling $105,700 with Stress Engineering Services Incorporated to perform inspections on piping systems at Dahlman Power Plant Station Unit 4 for the Office of Public Utilities.
Move to consent.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, and we put 219-381 on the consent agenda. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it.
Public Works 2019-382, an ordinance vacating part of an alley adjacent to 2039 East Clay Street to Curtis Yoakum.
Motion for consent.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to put 2019-382 on the council for the consent agenda. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it.
2019-383, an ordinance authorizing a one-year extension RFP PW 19-02 with Rayhan Brothers doing business as Sangamo Construction Company and Perry Broughton Trucking and Excavating Incorporated for street and alley repairs and authorizing an additional $600,000 for an amount not to exceed $1,150,000 for the Office of Public Works.
Entertain a motion.
Move to
For
consent.
consent. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We send 219-383 on to the council with due pass recommendation for the consent agenda. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it.
2019-384, an ordinance authorizing a professional services agreement with Hanson Professional Services Incorporated to perform construction engineering for the Cook Street Sewer District Rehabilitation and Replacement Phase 2 for an amount not to exceed $349,000 for the Office of Public Works.
Move to consent.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We send 2019-384 on to the council with due pass recommendations for the consent agenda. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it.
2019-385, an ordinance authorizing execution of contract number PW 20-07-42 with Jaron Industries Incorporated to provide demolition services to unsafe and dangerous structures for an amount not to exceed $59,655 for the Office of Public Works.
Move to consent. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to send 2019-385 on to the council with due pass recommendation for the consent agenda. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it.
2019-386, an ordinance accepting lowest responsible bid and authorizing the execution of contract PW 19-11-66 with Instaform Technologies Incorporated for construction of the Cook Street Sewer District Sewer Rehabilitation Replacement Phase 2 project for an amount not to exceed $2,681,603.40 for the Office of Public Works.
Motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We send 2019-386 on the council with due pass recommendations for the consent agenda. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it.
Finance, 2019-387, a resolution fixing a time and place for a public hearing on amending the boundaries of the Far East Tax Increment Financing redevelopment area within such area generally bounded by East Clear Lake Avenue on the north side, 10th Street Rail Corridor on the west side, East Pine Street on the south, and South 19th on the east for the Office of Planning and Economic Development.
Motion for consent.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to send 2019-387 on the council for due pass recommendation for consent agenda discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it.
General City Business, 2019-388, a resolution supporting the relocation of the World War I Memorial at Oak Ridge Cemetery.
Motion for consent. Second. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We send 2019-388 on the council with due pass recommendation for the consent agenda discussion. Mr. Clerk, I'd like to be added as a sponsor to this.
Noted.
Mr. Mayor?
I don't know if Director Lellis would like to expand upon this, but I did approve that we pay for the relocation as well. I think it's about $6,000, and they were talking about raising
I would
funds.
surprise you, Mayor, much less than that.
Good.
We're looking at about $1,200.
Well, Director McCarty will love that.
So thank you, Alderman, for co-sponsoring along with Alderman Proctor, and thank you, Mayor, for funding this. If you may recall, there's a World War I monument located at Bose Park on the corner of North Grand and Monument that's been there since about 2004. There was an anonymous donor that paid for the monument. He wanted it at Oak Ridge Cemetery, but because it only honored World War I veterans from Sangamon County, it was decided that it probably wouldn't be an appropriate place because it would open up 92 counties in Illinois, 91 other counties asking for county memorials there. So what we're proposing to do, Arnold Monument's going to be doing the relocation. We're going to add an inscription to it that honors all Illinois World War I veterans that served in that war. And there should be a dedication. I think it's a rededication being planned for September 25th. So if you want to mark your calendars, we'd certainly like you to attend. It's quite historic. One of the issues is that there's no parking. If people want to see that particular memorial, they have to either drive across the street to Dollar General or find a vacant lot someplace. So it's more appropriately located at Oak Ridge Cemetery, and that's what we're planning to do here within the next couple of weeks.
Mike, is there going to be any designation for the Sangamon County World War I veterans?
There's already all their names are already inscribed on that monument.
We're just adding
We're just adding in honor of all World War I veterans that served in Illinois.
Thank you.
Just to kind of cover the fact that we just don't want it exclusively
I
honor.
understand. Alderman Donlin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lellis, just out of curiosity, how long has the monument been at the existing location?
I think Mayor Davlin approved it in about 2004, so it's about 15 years.
Thank you very much. That's a great idea.
Is it going on city property at Oak
Yes,
Ridge?
sir.
You good?
Thank you.
Any other? Thanks, Mike. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it.
2019-389, a resolution supporting the Springfield Park District's open space lands acquisition and development grant application to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources for improvements to Isles Park.
Move to consent.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We send 2019-389 on the council for due pass recommendations for consent agenda discussion.
Yeah. Mr. Clerk, I would like to be added as a co-sponsor to this.
Noted.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Doris?
No, I was getting
Oh, okay.
attention around.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it.
Present.
Noted. 2019-390, an ordinance amending Chapter 33 of the 1988 City of Springfield Code of Ordinances as amended, establishing the Springfield Economic and Community Development Commission.
Is there a motion?
Move to consent.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We send 2019-390 on the council for due pass recommendations for consent agenda discussion.
Yes.
Alderman Hanauer.
What are we doing? Are we expanding this, or can you explain what we're doing with this, Mayor? Or Val, or who? Can someone explain?
Someone explain
what
it
we're
to you,
doing here?
please. Basically, we are changing the name from the Economic Development Commission to the Economic and Community Development Commission. And basically, we're adding 2 new members. The 2 additional members will represent areas that are affected with the community development block grants. So the commission will also be reviewing community block grant applications.
Who previously just, how
It was
that?
mostly on TIF. We just reviewed TIF
Right, but
applications.
Who did the block grants previously?
That was just done within the office.
Okay.
Alderman Donnelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Hazel, I noticed in the ordinance on Exhibit A, it says that we're adding 2 members that shall reside or work within the tax increment financing district. There is a provision in the TIF Act that relates to individuals who own property within the TIF not having decision authority, whether they're aldermen and or volunteer commission members. How does this apply? How, or should this even be a part of it in light of that fact?
Yeah, I'd defer to Corporation Counsel on that, but with regards to individuals within the area, we thought it'd be important to get their feedback. And as it says, if the TIF Act prohibits that, it would be someone that has worked in the area. I think that's the main emphasis with regards to adding the members, is actually having people that are familiar with the affected areas and how we can improve development. And the one thing with CDBG, this is just CDBG projects, not service grants. It's just the projects that would go before. We had one that was approved recently with housing. Those projects would go before this committee. So, Corporation Counsel, if you want to.
I will take a look at that section and see if it's actually prohibited. Keeping in mind a couple of things. The commission is only advisory in nature.
Right.
And so they cannot take a legally binding action. They can only recommend or make an observation. Normally, those sections that you're referring to, for example, specifically about an alderman, you cannot.
And members of a TIF commission, it specifically says that as well.
But this is not a TIF commission in the meaning of the act.
Right.
So, but we will carefully look at that and make sure that it's not getting outside of that.
Just being safe. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate your input.
Yep.
Val, is there there's no one else, there's no one on the commission now that fits this criteria for the living in the district?
No.
Okay. Alderman Turner?
So with the number of, I'm just trying to understand, with the number of TIF districts that we currently have, is how are we going to look to fill the requirement of a person who lives within the TIF? Is it any TIF or?
It can be any TIF.
Any
yes,
TIF, okay.
Yes. I mean, well, I think we'll probably focus on the ones that are most active, looking.
Okay.
Good. Any other questions?
Thank you.
If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it.
2019-391, an ordinance to increase the number of Class D liquor licenses by 1 for Home Plate Springfield, LLC, doing business as Home Plate, located at 2571 Cookie Mill Road.
Move to consent.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We send 2019-391 on the council for due pass recommendation for consent agenda discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it.
Noted. 2019-392, an ordinance to increase the number of Class I liquor licenses by 1 for Venue 1929 LLC, doing business as Venue 1929, located at 711 South 5th Street.
Entertain a motion.
Move to consent.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We send 2019-392 on the council for due pass recommendation for consent agenda discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it.
Present.
Noted. 2019-393, an ordinance to decrease the number of Class D liquor licenses by 1 for Canna 3 Incorporated, doing business as Capital City Bar and Grill, located at 3149 South Dirksen Parkway.
Entertain a motion.
Motion for consent.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We send 2019-393 on the council for due pass recommendation for consent agenda discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it.
Noted. 2019-394, an ordinance to decrease the number of Class C liquor licenses by 1 due to closure of business by DWAC Incorporated, doing business as Tasty City, located at 4233 Wabash Avenue.
Entertain a motion.
Move to consent.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We send 2019-394 on to the council for due pass recommendation for consent agenda discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it.
Present.
Noted. 2019-395, an ordinance amending Chapter 95 of the 1988 City of Springfield Code of Ordinances as amended pertaining to the Springfield Clean Indoor Air Ordinance of 2006.
Move for consent.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We send 2019-395 on to the council with due pass recommendations for consent agenda discussion. Alderman Hanauer.
Well, first of all, I'd like to be added as a sponsor if you'll allow me to.
Wonderful.
Secondly, you want to explain what this does? And
Sure.
then I have one more question after that.
Is that okay, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I've been approached by several residents throughout the city of Springfield as well as some businesses about the ongoing problem of vaping or utilizing electronic cigarettes in the community as a public health concern. It's no secret that anybody that's ever been around someone using an electronic cigarette, that when someone's using that there is, you can smell the vapor or aerosol, and are essentially getting exposed through secondhand. It is not something that is it is a health concern, is what I'm trying to say. The usage of electronic cigarettes are up significantly amongst high school seniors and high school students. As a matter of fact, my son, who recently graduated from high school, has a friend who is experiencing some difficulties because of ongoing vape usage. Choosing to utilize electronic cigarettes is one thing, but it's those individuals that are out in public or in workplaces that don't have the choice because someone next to them is utilizing an electronic cigarette that I'm concerned about. As I said to someone earlier today, it feels like deja vu all over again. You know, we experienced throughout our lives and our parents' lives before that, and grandparents, the question on whether smoking cigarettes and utilizing tobacco products was harmful. And then, lo and behold, there was scientific data that proved that it absolutely is harmful. And then, fast forward now, electronic cigarettes are being utilized, especially by youth throughout the country and world. And then there's great concern and data now that's forthcoming that shows it is indeed potentially very harmful. So this is meant to piggyback on existing smoke-free ordinance. This would apply within this, obviously, the municipal boundaries of the city of Springfield. There have been efforts to do something statewide. There's been actually recommendations from health groups, and even I believe the Surgeon General in the past has recommended that states take a look at amending their smoke-free laws to include electronic cigarettes, and this is meant to basically be for Springfield to be proactive and help the health of our community. You have any answer any questions?
Would you like to finish up?
Yeah, and then I guess the question is are these taxed like cigarettes, or or is there local tax that can be applied, what have you? Because my concern is basically the way I feel is the more we can raise the prices on these things, the harder it's going to be for kids to get them. I know it's 21, but it's just more money that they got to pay.
Alderman DeCenso.
I'd like to be added as a sponsor as well. And will this apply to pot starting January 1st?
Yeah, there is a language in this proposed ordinance that does indeed say cannabis. I believe, and Corporation Counsel, you correct me if I'm wrong, but the laws that were passed and that will become effective in January will not permit smoking of cannabis, smoking of cannabis in public places. But this just clarifies that if this were to be enacted.
That is correct. Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Finish. Alderman Turner.
Alderman Downland is absolutely correct. As a person who recently spent 22 years as a public health professional, I will tell you that the U.S. Surgeon General has said that vaping should be considered a public health epidemic, and we should definitely be putting policies and programs in place to reduce youth e-cigarette use. And another real concern of mine is that, as with most public health epidemics, this one significantly and adversely impacts minority youth and the minority community. So anything that we can do to wrap our arms around it, I think, is absolutely appropriate. And I would also add that Illinois, I believe, is the only state that has had a death that has been attributed to vaping. So I think that Springfield is being very proactive to move this ordinance through, and especially to move it through on the consent agenda.
Alderman Proctor.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this forward. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor also.
Be wonderful. Thanks.
Noted.
Everybody's welcome.
You too?
Yes, please. No, this is, I just want to say, Doris, as also a current employee of the Health Department, I think we're going to see more articles with concerns about vaping, and I appreciate your initiative in bringing this forward. And one thing I want to point out, if people haven't looked at it, we're changing enforcement authority from local health department to actually the police department with this.
Right.
And I think that gives a certain level of respect to the seriousness of this kind of an issue. So thank you.
Thank you.
Let the police decide if they are excited about that.
Yeah, once this ordinance gets passed and signed, I would really like to see our communications department do some type of social media acknowledgement and also to add some type of educational piece, because I think that that's really the way that most youth learn about things and get their information is through social media. So I think that we have a real opportunity to not only put something in place that is legislative and regulation, but also to educate. So I would really hope that we would do that after it's signed.
Alderman Fulgenzi.
Yeah, I would like to be added as a sponsor also, and I think we ought to reach out to the Sangamon County Health Department and to the county board to see if they would adopt some kind of an ordinance in favor of this, and the Sangamon County Health Department to see if they would have some no smoking, no vaping signs available for all the people in the county.
Good idea.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Alderman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, add me as a sponsor as well. We always get on our young men on the team about vaping, so that's very important.
Great. And I'll ask to be a co-sponsor also.
Noted.
Alderman Donlin.
Public health.
It's a good ordinance. So, any other discussion here? None. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. We'll now move on to any unfinished business. Alderman Conley.
Thank you, Chair. And I have brought this up before, which is why I'm bringing it up now under unfinished business. Mr. Corporation Counsel, we've talked about having a draft ordinance prepared soon for recreational marijuana.
It'll be available tomorrow.
Okay, wonderful. I just want to let everyone know that my hope is that we can get this on our agenda for first reading as soon as possible, so that we can begin a very active and engaged conversation with all of our residents. I don't know why I always manage to follow this up after someone's done something with drugs or smoking, but I do think it's appropriate. We're talking about these products. We're talking about this kind of behavior. I have gotten some concerns from residents about, current people who are smoking marijuana in duplexes and the, intrusions of smells into their living quarters. And these are things that we're probably going to be looking at. In terms of the ordinance, though, I think we do need to start our conversations so that we can have something in place for our businesses who will be eligible to start selling January 1. Again, I am still asking that we include in this ordinance the maximum 3% local tax, and that we dedicate, at least as a starting point for our conversation, 2% of that 3% tax to our police and fire pension funds, and have that included in the ordinance so that we aren't too tempted to change it later.
Alderman Turner.
I actually was also going to introduce something along those lines, because everyone has heard me speak before, and I realize that police and fire pension is very important. It's probably the biggest drain. Alderman McMiniman's not here, so I'll say it for him. Yeah. Biggest drain on our budget. However, it cannot be lost on not only the city of Springfield, but any municipality that puts together an ordinance regarding recreational marijuana, that the biggest piece of that legislation was meant to be a criminal justice bill. It wasn't just about legalizing cannabis. It was about righting a wrong that had been perpetuated throughout our community for many, many years. And I feel like that if that is the main piece of this legislation, and I've spoken at length about this with the legislators that brought it forward, as well as Governor Pritzker, who signed it into law, that we have to do something to address that in the ordinance that we put in place. So, Corporation Council, when you draft that ordinance, I would like to do something similar to what I did with the video gaming. I would like to incorporate that 1.5% of that 3% be dedicated to economic development within the minority communities, specifically the east side of Springfield. Because I think that that is one way that we will be able to incorporate the spirit of that legislation.
I will go ahead and amend my 2% request then. Thank you, Doris.
Thank
I think it's
Any other comments, Miss? Any other unfinished business? Is there any new business come before the committee? Alderman Hanna.
Just to give you an update, I've been working with the corporate council on the gaming ordinance, which will bring in the 6 machine and whatnot. So hope to have it by September is what we're shooting for, and we'll get it. I'll be talking to you guys about it, once we get it more established and the way we're trying to, the way we all kind of want it. So.
By way of just information, we should have the draft finished for you to look at this week.
Okay.
So you could circulate or however you would like to proceed.
Okay, thank you.
Who else? Mayor, please.
Yeah, tonight at 7 o'clock is the last flag-lowering reenactment ceremony out at Oak Ridge Cemetery. So I know they have a band from Bloomington here, but it is a great ceremony if you haven't been, and it takes about 20 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other business? Director McCarty, sorry. Didn't mean to promote you.
Is that a promotion? Just for those of you who have been wondering and waiting, Alderwoman Turner and others, we do have a date for the city-county softball game now.
We're told otherwise before the meeting.
September 22nd.
When?
September 22nd. Time and date, or time and place to be determined, probably Lincoln Park, but we're looking at a couple of other options. And it will be in the afternoon, just not exactly sure the start time. I'm going to be meeting with some representatives from the county here in the next week or so to try and nail all that down. So get yourselves out to the batting cages and start warming up.
But not flag football, correct?
No, there was she's right. There was a request to do flag football instead, and I talked to Tim about that today, and we decided that we didn't have enough insurance coverage for that. So we're going to go ahead and just stick with softball, I think. And for those of you who are concerned, since it's not at Robin Roberts, those of you concerned that we won't have someone there to give us a hard time and make fun of us, I've already talked to Ray, Lytle, and Sean, and they will be happy to commentate anywhere. So hopefully we'll have them there, and the only thing that'll really be different is the place where we do it. So
sounds good.
Get yourselves ready.
Any other new business come for the committee? Hearing none, is there any citizens requested to address the committee?
None have signed up, Chairman.
Are there any citizens that would like to address the committee? Please come up and state your name for the committee.
My name is Mike Lopez.
Please come up here.
Mayor.
But I'd like to.
You're welcome to, Mike.
You want to talk about annexation?
Yes.
Good evening, and thank you, Alderman Redpath, for recognizing me, and the mayor and Langfelder. Mike Lopez, Village of Jerome president, not a citizen of Springfield, but discussions the last few weeks, you never know. Anyway, what I'm asking for you tonight is just an idea I'm floating. The city of Springfield has a lot more bang for the buck and staff than we have in Jerome. And we're desperately looking for some type of capital funding through the governor's bill for the wall, for the Isles Avenue that runs from MacArthur Boulevard to the west to Chatham. It will tie into the MacArthur Boulevard and the MacArthur Business District that the city has got generous dollars for development. and it's a gateway to the West when you go see the Cardinals or the Cubs play. I'm just being facetious, but we do need maybe a letter of support. We can talk about that at a later date, but we'd like to have you people at the table when we meet with representatives from the state and other regional leaders to get that support to undertake that project. It's about $4.6 million. Jerome does not have that money, but with the thousands of cars that travel to and from west to east on Isles Avenue and also bordering the District 186 school, Franklin Middle School, there are no sidewalks. That poses another safety issue, and also traffic that comes out of the Town Hall Boulevard apartment complexes that cause another traffic jam. So I just want to throw that idea out. Also, I want to also notify you the Village of Jerome has voted of a support last month, unanimous vote by the council to support the development of cannabis in Jerome. It's an ongoing discussion. We'll probably rely on what you folks pass to have our attorneys look at and see how that goes, but we do have to look at revenue sources since we lost the shop and save. And the last thing I want to say, I do stand shoulder to shoulder with this council and with the mayor, Honorable Mayor Langfelder, with our respect to law enforcement. They do their jobs to protect and defend us, and when they are blatantly attacked, that is not a course of acceptability. So we do stand fast with you on that, and I thank you very much for your time, and hope the Cubs win tonight.
We need it. We need it. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much for the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Young lady from the back. Please state your name for the committee and what you're here to see us about.
Yeah. I'm going to do a little something unusual right now. One, can you come join me, please?
It's okay. Take your time. We're all right.
My name is Courtney Jane. I suffer from a multitude of mental illnesses. And I'm sorry, right now I'm having a panic attack. I met with one earlier this week. I have met with Independent Living. We are going to attempt to start, at least with Independent Living, a support group for people with service animals. My concern is, since I have had my service animals, the people of Springfield don't know how to interact. They don't know how to behave. I even had one business ask me for my ID for my dog. Luckily, my trainer provides one. The ADA does not require these. If I didn't have this, I would have been rejected into this business. The ADA also states that my dog doesn't have to have a vest on. I leave it on, just it makes it simpler. I want to do something with Springfield. I want to start some program, something. That's how come I approached Juan on educating the people of Springfield, on educating the businesses, on educating the public. Because even in my group, I went in, everybody, my therapist said, we have a service dog here, everybody ignore her, and instantly everybody, oh, look at how cute she is. Well, then she's not paying attention to me. And the public at large, I've noticed, does not understand this concept. And I would love to somehow be able to get this education out there. Am I putting this right?
Go ahead, Juan.
Yeah, we met Friday, and the next Disability Commission meeting is Thursday, October 10. So she'll be attending our meeting, and she can talk to the commission about it. And we discussed about doing a training at the library, and we're going to be meeting that way we can set up a time and a date, and we can get some stuff together and have a community meeting at the library.
Did you talk to the director of the library, the new director?
I haven't, but I schedule the rooms over there anytime I need something.
I would just...
Any questions for her? Go ahead, Alderman Collins.
Please.
I just want to thank you for coming in and for stating this. My mom is actually, she's a physical therapist, and she's trained service dogs. And I know the amount of work that goes into them and the important part and the important function they serve in your life. I would like to offer whatever I can to help with this. I think education is an absolute fabulous resource, and I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say we will do what we can to help you. We have all got social media at our disposal, and
I don't mean to interrupt.
no, it's fine.
I have a big problem with social media.
Okay.
I have been in more than one argument on social media.
Oh, yeah.
If you see a service dog, you need to follow it because that means their owner is in trouble. A true service dog does not leave their side. They're trained to cradle a head. They're trained for deep pressure stimulation.
Yep.
If the public believes that they have to follow this service dog, then that's not, I mean, the ADA says you must be in control of your dog at all times. Tethered with a hand pedal if you're in a wheelchair, voice command. I'm sorry, if you're having a seizure, you can't control your bladder, let alone your dog.
No, and I guess what I'm trying to say is whatever avenue works best, I would like to help support this. I think education and outreach about the functions and the importance of service dogs and what they mean in someone's life is critical. And I appreciate very much you coming and speaking to us tonight. Thank you.
Alderman DeCenso.
I just want to apologize for the people who have mistreated you. I know several people with service dogs, and I do know the struggles you face. So I think it's very brave of you to be standing up here. And
I want to educate.
That's
the public.
agreed.
That, you know, you can't just be like, oh, look how cute that dog is. No, you ignore the dog.
Right.
I love the library idea. As you I'm scared.
Fine.
But I love the library idea. I am looking forward to meeting in October. I also suggested maybe being able to get into schools and teach children. Maybe then they can teach their parents. I would love to be able to meet with police officers because they're trained that if your dog is freaking out, then they can put the dog down. However, if they're trained on how to deal with the dog, they can get to the owner. I mean, she is a $10,000 dog, and that's a cheap dog.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you for coming, Ms. Jane. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're great.
Thank you guys so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Juan. Anyone else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, the ayes have it. Good night.
Oh, my bad.